You're 18 years old. The letter arrives in March 1943. Your mother cries. Your father says nothing. He fought in the First War. He knows what the letter means. You report to the induction center in Hamburg. They give you a uniform, 2 sizes too big, and a rifle older than you are. The drill sergeant says you're going to defend the fatherland. He doesn't say which front. The Eastern Front is eating entire divisions. Stalingrad just fell. Everyone knows what happens to soldiers sent east. But you don't get sent east. You get sent west. You get assigned to something called the Atlantic Wall. December 1943. You arrive at a muddy construction site on the coast of Normandy, a fishing village called Colville-sur-Mer. Your position is designated Resistance Nest 62. For the next 6 months, you pour concrete, rated to withstand 500-kilogram bombs. You dig trenches until your hands bleed. Then, you dig more trenches. You position beach obstacles along the waterline. Steel crosses, wooden stakes, concrete pyramids. All of them angled toward the sea. All of them designed to rip the bottoms out of landing craft. The engineers tell you it's the most fortified coastline in human history. They tell you the Allies will shatter themselves against it, like waves against a cliff. They sound very confident. The veterans from the Eastern Front are also assigned here. They don't say anything about the fortifications. They just dig. By May 1944, your position is finished. WN-62 sits on a bluff, 40 meters above the beach, overlooking a natural gap in the cliffs called the E3 Draw. It's one of only 5 exits off the entire beach. If the Americans want to get their tanks and trucks inland, they have to come through you. Your garrison is 40 men. You have 2 75mm guns mounted in concrete casemates, 1 50mm anti-tank gun, 2 50mm mortars, 6 machine gun positions. Your personal weapon is an MG-42. The MG-42 fires 1,200 rounds per minute, 20 bullets per second. The barrel overheats after 250 rounds, so you learn to swap barrels in under 8 seconds. You practice this until you can do it with your eyes closed. The Americans have a nickname for your gun. They call it the bone saw. You don't know it yet, but in 6 weeks, you're going to fire that gun so long and so fast that the barrel will ignite the grass around your foxhole. You're going to swap barrels so many times, you'll lose count somewhere around 15. You're going to kill more men in 9 hours than most soldiers kill in an entire war. But that's later. Right now, you're just a kid cleaning his gun and playing cards and waiting for an invasion that might never come. June 5th, 1944. A storm is hammering the coast. Rain is coming sideways. Your commanding officer, Lieutenant Bernhard Frerking, says everyone can relax. Maybe get some sleep. The Allies aren't stupid enough to cross the channel in a storm. You go to bed at 2300 hours. At 0:30 hours, the air raid sirens drag you out of sleep. Bombers. You can hear hundreds of them somewhere above the clouds. The ground starts shaking. You run to your position, heart pounding, and you wait for the bombs to find you. They don't. The clouds are too thick. The rain is too heavy. The bombardiers can't see their targets. They drop their payloads 3 kilometers inland, blowing up empty fields and confused cows. Your bunker doesn't take a single hit. You don't realize it yet, but this is the luckiest moment of your life. 448 B-24 bombers just missed you by accident. At 0400 hours, the clouds break just enough to see the horizon. And that's when you see them. Ships. You've never seen so many ships. You stop counting at 5,000 because there's no point. They stretch from one edge of the horizon to the other. Battleships, cruisers, destroyers, troop transports. The largest naval invasion force ever assembled in human history, and it's heading straight for your 40-man outpost. Your radio man, Private Warnicki, is screaming into his transmitter. 5,000 ships heading straight for us. Send reinforcements. Send the Luftwaffe. Send anyone. The response comes back scratchy and confused. Rommel is in Germany for his wife's birthday. The Führer is asleep, and no one is authorized to wake him. The 21st Panzer Division is on standby, but no one has given the order to move. You look at the ships. You look at your 40 men. You look at the empty sky where the Luftwaffe is supposed to be. At 6:30 hours, the first landing craft hit the water. They're 450 meters out. You can see some of the boats swamping, men spilling into the freezing water, drowning before they ever reach the sand. Lieutenant Frerking gives the order. Wait. Let them get closer. Wait until they drop the ramps. Wait until they're in knee-deep water where they can't run, can't hide, can't do anything but die. They drop the ramps. The Americans pour out. They're loaded down with 60 pounds of gear. They're struggling through the surf. They can't run. They can barely walk. Firking gives the order. You pull the trigger. The first burst kills 6 men. They don't fall dramatically like in the movies. They just stop moving. The ones behind them trip over the bodies. The second burst kills 4 more. You're not aiming at individuals. You're not even aiming at soldiers. You're aiming at a mass, a wave of human bodies that keeps coming no matter how many you cut down. The beach fills with the dead. The living hide behind the dead. They bunch up behind the steel obstacles, the ones you positioned 6 months ago. They do exactly what the obstacles were designed to make them do. They make themselves easy targets. Your loader is feeding belts as fast as he can. Every 250 rounds, you swap barrels. You throw the spent ones into the mud where they hiss and steam. The gun is so hot, you can smell the paint burning off. One of the other gunners in your position, a corporal named Heinrich Severloh, will later claim he fired 12,000 machine gun rounds that day, plus 400 rifle bullets when the machine gun jammed. Historians will call that number implausible. The Americans will call him the Beast of Omaha Beach. You're not counting rounds. You're not counting kills. You're just pulling the trigger until the belt runs out. This is what the Atlantic Wall was built for. This is working exactly as designed. But something is wrong. By 0800 hours, you look up at the sky. It's empty. Where is the Luftwaffe? You were promised air support. Thousands of planes. Not a single German aircraft appears over Normandy on June 6, 1944. The Luftwaffe has been shattered in 1,000 dogfights over the past year. Nobody told you. You radio for reinforcements. The 21st Panzer Division should be counterattacking by now. Nobody will come until 1430 hours. And when they finally move, they'll be sent to fight the British 15 kilometers away. You're on your own. By noon, you're running low on ammunition. You fired 8,000 rounds, maybe 10,000. Your hands are shaking from the recoil. The American destroyers have moved in close, within 1,000 meters of the beach, and they're firing directly into your position. One shell hits 10 meters from your foxhole. The pressure wave slams you against the concrete wall, and you taste blood. Lieutenant Firking is on the radio, begging for ammunition resupply. The answer is there is no ammunition. There is no resupply. There is nothing coming. At 1500 hours, you load your last belt. It's all tracers. They work fine for killing, but every round shows the Americans exactly where you are. Within 20 minutes, every gun on the beach is focused on your position. Firking takes a shell fragment to the neck. He bleeds out in the trench, still holding the radio handset, still waiting for the reinforcements that were never coming. At 1530, the order comes. Retreat. Fall back to the secondary position. There is no secondary position. There is no organized retreat. You crawl out the back of WN-62 with 3 other men. Of your original 40, 18 are dead. The rest are scattered across the Normandy countryside, running from an invasion they were told was impossible. You make it 200 meters before the Americans find you. They're not gentle. One of them hits you with a rifle butt. You go down hard. You expect to be shot. Instead, they put a zip tie around your wrists and march you back to the beach. The beach doesn't look like a killing field anymore. It looks like a city being constructed. Trucks, tanks, cranes, thousands of men pouring ashore like they own the place. Because they do now. You look at the bodies still floating in the surf. You did that. You and your MG-42 and your 6 months of preparation. And it didn't matter. Not even a little. They put you on a transport ship. You expect starvation. You expect beatings. What you get is sausage, mashed potatoes, white bread, and coffee. The American guards give you cigarettes. One of them even offers you chocolate. You end up in Kansas, a place called Camp Concordia. The prisoners call it Fritz Ritz. Ice cream, Coca-Cola, 80 cents a day for work details. You try not to think about the beach. You try not to count the bodies. May 1945. The war ends. They ship you back to Germany. What's left of it? Your hometown is rubble. Your father never came home from the Eastern Front. Trials are happening. Nuremberg. You're not a war criminal. You were a conscript who followed orders. But a man approaches you in the winter of 1946. He knows your name. He knows you can process paperwork. There are Germans who need to disappear, he says. Good Germans. You don't ask what they did. You process the Red Cross travel documents. Germans become Argentines. Austrians become Brazilians. The paperwork goes through Rome, then Genoa, then Buenos Aires. You process 847 documents in 18 months. You get paid in cash. You don't ask questions. In 1950, you process your own documents. You become someone else. Buenos Aires, a small apartment, a job keeping books for a shipping company. For 34 years, you live quietly. You change your name twice. Every time there's a knock at the door, you stop breathing. The Israelis found Eichmann in 1960. He was living 12 blocks from your first apartment. They drugged him and flew him to Jerusalem in a cargo hold. That was too close. You moved to Sao Paulo. October 1984. There's a knock at your door. Two men. They know your real name. They know about WN62. They know about the 847 documents. You don't answer their questions. You can't. The men you helped disappear, some of them are still alive. Some of them have friends in dark places. The men leave. They say they'll be back. 3 days later, you're found in your apartment. Heart failure. Natural causes. That's what the death certificate says. But the coffee cup on your table has residue the coroner doesn't recognize. You were a number on a conscription list in 1943, a number on a machine gun position in 1944, and now you're a number on a coroner's report in Brazil. Nobody comes to your funeral. There are no records connecting your fake name to your real one. That was the whole point. The war never ended for you. It just moved to a different column on someone else's list.